Hi everyone, today we're going to look at page 17 of your workbook, chapter 2, Historical Counting Systems. In your textbook, this is page 37, and I really encourage you to read through that in detail. There may be things that are covered in there. There's actually quite a bit that's covered in there that we won't necessarily get a chance to do all the examples of in the workbook. For classwork, if I leave things blank, you should go ahead and do that and submit that. It is a great idea to check the key that I'll post underneath the videos before submitting, just to double check. If you do notice something is a mismatch, just email me and I'll double check it. I can easily make a mistake here just going through and not notice it. So I don't have an editor or a key for these workbook things, so just doing them as I go. So if you don't mind just emailing me and I'll double check for you. Don't necessarily think you're wrong right off the bat. So we're going to look at the tally system to start with, just to get you familiar, with how things are going to work with some of these problems. We're doing different base type things. So in math, there's different bases, like with measurement, you'll see a lot you've already seen. With like inches, 12 inches to a foot and things like that. Time is another one. So it's a little harder to convert. But when we had the metric system and it was all base 10, that was easy to convert. With some of the ancient systems, they have different bases. Also in computer language, there's different bases. So we're just going to play around with some numbers. It's kind of fun. So here's the tally system. You're probably familiar with this, so I'll just be really super quick with that. So the tally marks are every 4 bars, then you would put the 5th one across, so it's easier to look at. That's the purpose of it. So this would be 5, 10, 15, and then 16, 17. Then we have down here just a little word problem. If there are 12 I listen to music MP3 players in a box in Music Max's garage, use tally marks to represent the number of MP3 players. So we're just looking to write the number 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. 1, 2, 4, 5. And so that's 5, 10, and then 12. So that's really all there is to it for that. I'm not looking for much more. Okay, so now we're going to look at page 18 of your workbook. Just the regular place value that we use, base 10, and we're going to just go through some of the places. One of the things you might notice here is that 10 to the 0 is 1. Anything to the 0 power is always 1. So just review your scientific notation. There are more details in the book, so be sure to read through that again. But a lot of this is just, you'll already know. So just go ahead and pause the video and try this one right here. I'm not going to probably write the answers out on a key. I'm just going to give it to you right here. So go ahead and pause, and then I'll show the answers. It's just looking at place values. Okay, so now that you've had a minute to work that out, we'll look at the answers. Just make sure we're all on the same page literally here. So we have 6 would be in the 10,000s place. Make sure you write it with a D, not a TH, like as in decimals. 0 is in the ones place, 1 is in the billions, and 2 is in the 100 millions. Now we're going to look at writing things out in expanded notation. You may not have done this for a very long time. I'm sure you've done it before at one point in your life, but we don't often do this. But for the purpose of changing bases and things like that, we need to know how to do that. So we're going to start with a base that we're familiar with so we can see how it works. So here, if we have the 7, that is in the thousands place. So that's really like doing 7 times 1,000. And then I would get the value 7,000, right? I actually want to write these all out into scientific notation, which I'll put underneath after I do it out the long way. And you can use parentheses to help you differentiate and make sure you're following your order of operations. They're really not necessary, but the book actually does that a lot, so we'll match that. So this would be 2 times 100, and this would be 5 times 10, and then the last one would be 6 times 1. And again, oh, why can't I write just 6? Well, it's just for purposes that we'll see later when we're doing the, writing it out in different bases. So here, if we were to add all these up, 7,000 plus the 200 plus the 50 plus the 6, we would get the number that we started with. That's how we know we did it right. But let's now write it in scientific notation, or using scientific notation, I should say. So if there's 3 zeros, it's 10 to the 3rd. And so on and so forth. So go ahead and do that along with me. Now this one, that should be a times there. This one we really can just write 10, but I'm going to put 10 to the 1st just so we're tracking it, especially when we're doing other bases. That might be helpful. And then this one again, I'm going to write it as 10 to the 0 just for emphasis, but you could replace that with 1. But I just want you to see how it starts here at the end. The 0, then the 1, 2, 3. So whatever your base is here. And then whatever the place is, so this would be the first place is always to the 0 power, second place is to the first power, whether it's our numbering system, a different base in our numbering system, or if it's in like the Mayan system that we'll be looking at shortly. So now go ahead and try this example 2.5 as classwork. Okay, so this one was an example that I did up here. And you're going to do this one as classwork, and then I will write the answer shortly. So here's the answer to that classwork right here, so make sure you write that up. I do only want you to submit the examples and classwork from the workbook, unless I add something else in from the video. It's great if you're reading along with the book. That's awesome, and taking notes and things like that. But just keep that for your own, in your own notebook for your own purposes. If you have questions about any of those things, certainly let me know or post it on the question forum. So in your book, as soon as we're talking about that, you can see pages 51 to 52 for more examples on this type of thing. So we'll stop there for this video and then take up with page 19, 2.3, the Mayan numeral system. Again, in your book, there's loads of info and more details.